A 78-year-old man's words that hit home. A reflection on aging, family, and self-reliance. They say that getting old is hard. No matter who you are, how much money you have, or whether you have children. Once you reach a certain age, life becomes more difficult than you ever imagined. And I'll be the first to say, those words hold a deeper truth than most people care to admit. Anyone who's lived through the highs and lows of life, who's had their share of laughter and heartache, will nod in quiet agreement when I say, growing old isn't just about gray hair or a slower gait. It's about losing power, dignity, and sometimes, even a sense of purpose. When you're young, you feel invincible. Tasks are easy. Lifting groceries, climbing stairs, navigating traffic. These are just parts of the daily rhythm. But once you get up there in years, everything takes more effort. Something as simple as opening a jar becomes a trial of patience and strength. Back in my younger days, I had a strong voice and wasn't afraid to use it. If something was unfair or dishonest, I'd speak up, loud and clear. But now, even when I'm wronged or disrespected, I keep my mouth shut. I mumble a few words to myself, maybe vent silently in the privacy of my room.
Why?
Because I'm afraid. Afraid to be seen as troublesome. Afraid they'll say, there goes the old man again, complaining. At this stage in life, you realize that getting by on your own just isn't always possible. You need others, nurses, caregivers, maybe your kids, maybe strangers. And when you need others, you become vulnerable. You feel like you have to be gentle, agreeable, even when your heart is breaking because you're afraid people might walk away and leave you to fend for yourself. Even when you do have children and savings, that nagging worry never leaves. What if something happens? What if the kids don't step up? What if the money runs out? And you know, deep down, that if trouble comes knocking, you might not be strong enough to fix it anymore. Let me tell you my story. My name is Edward Martin. I'm 78 years old, a retired administrative officer from a major utility company in the Midwest. I've had a good career, and I was fortunate enough to retire with a comfortable pension, around $6,000 a month. That's not peanuts, even by today's standards. I have one son, James. He's 49 now. When James got married years ago, I gave him and his new bride a beautiful home in the suburbs, a 4-bedroom colonial with a big backyard. We threw them a grand wedding, sparing no expense. That was my joy. I've never been a man of extravagant dreams. I just wanted my family to be healthy and happy. My wife, Lillian, and I lived a peaceful life. Between the two of us, we had more than enough to live comfortably. After retirement, we traveled a lot, Florida in the winters, national parks in the summer, sometimes a quiet lake cabin in Vermont. Those were golden years, and I often look back on them now like they were a dream, almost too good to be true. Then came our grandson, Lucas. We were over the moon. We put our traveling shoes away and stayed home to help raise him. My daughter-in-law, Michelle, said she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and we respected that. She said Lucas needed his mother, especially in those early years. We agreed, family first always. But as time went on, I began to see the cracks. James and Michelle started to lean on us more than we expected. James's income as a mid-level manager wasn't enough to support their lifestyle. They liked the finer things, brand names, private gym memberships, vacations we didn't know how they afforded. It wasn't long before they were coming to us with long faces, sighs, and complaints about how tight money had become. We didn't wait for them to ask, we offered. Every month, Lillian and I gave them $2,500 to help out. We figured it was temporary. We had the money and we thought, why let them struggle when we can ease the burden? But of course, temporary became permanent. Michelle, bless her heart, was always frazzled. She said she couldn't handle the baby alone, so Lillian and I started going over every day. We'd cook, clean, change diapers, run errands. It became our full-time job. James and Michelle started depending on us for everything. And the money? That was just the beginning. We paid for the groceries, the utilities, and when Lucas needed diapers or formula, they never once offered to cover it. We didn't make a fuss. After all, we thought, this is our family. It's all going to them anyway one day. But gratitude? That's a word I haven't heard in a long time. As Lucas got older, the expenses piled up. Michelle insisted that he couldn't fall behind. He can't lose the race at the starting line, she'd say. She enrolled him in early education programs that cost thousands per semester. We paid. Then came the preschool decision. We argued for the public school. It was nearby, well-rated, and free. But Michelle insisted on a private bilingual school with foreign language immersion. It cost nearly $20,000 a year. I refused. For the first time, I said, no, that was our retirement savings they were eyeing, and I needed that cushion for medical emergencies, for peace of mind. They were furious. The cold shoulder came fast and heavy. James stopped returning my calls. Michelle looked through me like I wasn't there. Even Lucas started pulling away. I suspect he heard things at home. Children absorb more than we realize. Still, we kept helping. We showed up. We cooked, cleaned, contributed. Year after year, we gave them everything, our time, our labor, our money. Then came the real test. 3 years ago, Lillian was diagnosed with cancer. She became bedridden, unable to care for herself. I was nearly 75, and I couldn't manage alone. I asked James and Michelle for help. They came by twice, once when she was admitted to the hospital, and once at her bedside before she passed. That was it. They said they were too busy, that I should hire help. And so I did. It cost a fortune, but I had no choice. Lillian died a year later. My world went quiet. Alone in that big house, I found myself wondering what my life had amounted to. Decades of hard work, a career, a family, and now silence. No visits, no calls, no warmth. Eventually, I considered remarrying. A lovely woman named Barbara, a widow I met through a community group, and I began seeing each other. I told James. And that's when the ugly truth came out. He demanded I hand over my pension checks, asked for access to my bank accounts, told me to sign over the house, so it stays in the family, and made it clear, if you marry again, we want nothing to do with you. That moment changed everything. I saw them for what they were, people who wanted what I had, not who I was. I said no. I kept my money, I kept my house, and I ended things with Barbara, not because I didn't love her, but because I didn't want drama or threats to follow me into my final years. And that's when I made the decision that saved my sanity. I sold the house. It fetched $850,000. I took the money and moved into a premier senior living facility on the outskirts of town. For $4,000 a month, I now have a spacious private suite, 3 gourmet meals a day, on-site medical care, movie nights, yoga, a piano lounge, and a whole new circle of friends, people who smile when they see me. People who ask how I'm doing because they genuinely want to know. Now, for the first time in years, I sleep soundly. I laugh. I read novels. I write in my journal. I go to the garden club on Thursdays and poker night on Sundays. And I've come to understand one thing. At this age, money gives you dignity, autonomy, peace. Children may turn away. Even loved ones may grow distant. But your savings, those hard-earned dollars, they won't betray you. They won't guilt you. They won't make you feel small. They will support you, protect you, and ensure you live with the comfort and respect you deserve. So if you're reading this and you're in your 60s, 70s, or 80s, if you're feeling invisible, discarded, or unsure of what lies ahead, please take this to heart. It's never too late to choose yourself. It's never too late to change the ending. You owe no one your peace of mind. And you don't need to trade love for loyalty when that love asks too much and gives too little. Stand tall, even if you have to do it alone. Because growing old with grace isn't about who stays by your side. It's about knowing you can stand, regardless of who walks away.